What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. And check this out, man. We got a brother on here that, check this out. Long story short, if you are part of the Divine Nine, if you're part of any of the organizations, any of the 9 organizations in the National Panhellenic Council, and you are active on social media, I'll guarantee you have probably come across this brother. His name is Walter Brown. Now, check this out. If that name does not ring a bell, the name Skinni Go Live, I'll guarantee you has. Either you love the brother or he's a doggone pissed you off in some way, shape, or form, but it's all coming from a place of love, right?
There it is.
And so today we have my man Walter Brown, Skinni, from Skinni Go Live on. And, you know, this is my frat brother, Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is in the building for show. And he has an interesting story, man. You know, his brother's originally from Albany, Georgia. He graduated from Fort Valley State University. It used to be State College, right?
There it is.
Fort Valley State University. And we'll just kind of let him kind of jump into his story. But, man, brother has a dynamic story. And first and foremost, I want to welcome you and thank you for taking time out of your schedule, your busy schedule, to come in and holler at us at Black Fathers Now.
Anytime, dog. Anytime. Like I said, you've been supporting since day one, dog. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm always here to support the fathers, especially the black fathers, as well as the brothers of our organization, dog. So I am glad to be here today, dog, to be speaking with you, my dog.
That
Very glad.
is what's up. I appreciate it, man. So let's jump straight into it, man. So Walter Brown, and you go by Skinni Go Live, man. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, man. Like, how did all this stuff come about, man? Like, how did you become skinny?
Dog, dog, it was a blessing, dog. Long story short, on the back end of thing, you know, like most black men coming up in the world today, you know what I mean? I was fortunate to come from what I call a working middle class family that lived in a city that was, that had no real opportunity, you know what I'm saying? The city is basically, you got maybe like 3 or 4 major industries where you had Procter & Gamble, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, or like a Miller Brewing Company. Other than that, you had no real opportunity. There was nothing for, you know, kids to kind of grow up and be a part of. And growing up where I came from, you know, so my parents, they worked hard. We transitioned from living in the project homing to the apartments till they finally built their house. So I watched my family grow, and that was a great blessing. But where I'm from, you know, I mean, kids really don't have a whole lot of opportunity. And the thing that I think was the best part about it, I had a band director. I was also I was in the band during high school. I always grew up with musically inclined. 2 things I always loved growing up was animals and music. Mm-hmm. And moving towards high school, I had a band director who was very influential. He was an alpha man, and he taught us a lot that we didn't realize. He taught us our worth. You know what I mean? He taught us everything. We didn't realize that, you know, being black kids in the music, we didn't know we could compete with people outside of, you know, the people that we're associated with. Different black high schools. You know, we didn't have our football team to play these bigger white schools or predominantly white schools. So we didn't know our worth as musicians. So he saw that coming in and took us outside the school or whatnot, and we had competition with different bands or whatnot, and we saw our worth as band students. So, and from there on, I was like, you know what, I got to get out of my city, you know what I'm saying, to see my worth. So long story short, I ended up getting a band scholarship to Morris Brown College, playing in the band and whatnot, and moving to Atlanta was a great experience. You know, I had heard a lot about Atlanta, and, you know, I just saw there was a lot of opportunity outside of my city, and from that point on, I never really wanted to kind of like go back. So from that point on, I ended up going to Fort Valley State, due to Morris Brown closing or whatnot. I ended up transitioning to Fort Valley State, where I found my second love, or indulged on my second love, which was veterinary medicine and whatnot. I didn't know if I really wanted to be an actual veterinarian or if I just wanted to work with animals or whatnot. So from that point, I just took the route of becoming what they call a veterinary technologist, which basically is like a registered nurse, or on the higher end nurse practitioner on the veterinary medicine side of things. So I work at a university, and I deal with emergency and critical care, do a lot of research, do a lot of talks or whatnot, and continuing education as far as veterinary medicine is concerned on the technology side of things. So going from that route, when I left Fort Valley State, what happened was I did an internship with the university, an externship with the university before leaving Fort Valley, and I put my best foot forward. I was already the bros. I put my best foot forward, and I was blessed enough that they actually asked me if I wanted a job working for them before my internship was out. So from that point on, I continued to roll the ball with veterinary medicine. As far as like the comedy thing goes, the funny thing about that, people ask all the time, man. They're like, dude, how did you start with the comedy deal? How did the whole Skinni Go live thing come about? I was already, being from Albany, and we had I don't know, maybe some people know there was a group called Field Mob back in the day.
Everybody knows Field Mob.
Everybody knows Field Mob, and they used to call Sean J that skinny Benny boy from Albany. So after I left Morris Brown, unfortunately, it was an abrupt leave from Morris Brown, and it was kind of a sad day. We'll kind of talk about that a little later on.
Okay.
But I ended up leaving Morris Brown and going to Fort Valley State, and not knowing anybody, knowing any friends. And one thing at Fort Valley, everybody went by nicknames and whatnot. Everybody was like, dude,
everybody black go by nicknames, whether it's Fort Valley.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, exactly, and I'm like, and Fort Valley was more of the HBCU. It wasn't like Morris Brown City, Atlanta HBCU. It was like country. Everybody had to know area. It was one stoplight, one corner store, so it was like a family. Everybody like, man, we can't call you Walter, man. We can't call you you that skinny Benny boy, man. So everybody like, we're gonna call you Skinny from the Benny. So you know what I'm saying? From that point on, it went from being Skinny from the Benny to people just like dropping the Benny off and like, oh, that's Skinny, man. And now it was and as I started the comedy deal, doing the videos or whatnot, it was soon as Facebook put that Go Live feature on there. It just turned into Skinni Go Live. It's like, hey, and it has been that movement that's for, and it's been an absolute blessing, man. It's been an absolute blessing, man. So I can't complain.
And it's a trip, man. You mentioned Fort Valley, Fort Valley State University. I keep saying Fort Valley State College because my dad actually pledged at Fort Valley State. He's 74.
Right.
He's 74. The ace from 74 with the mighty U.S. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
but
there it is.
And so growing up, we used to go to homecoming way back in the day. It was Fort Valley State College back then.
Right.
And see, I'm from Augusta, so I'm born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. So there's a lot of people from Augusta that, matriculated through Fort Valley. And so there's a lot of history there. So when you talk about it being the country and the nicknames and all of that, look, you preaching to the choir, bro. That's something we understand, man.
And it's funny, like, so, and what I tell a lot of people, man, I got an appreciation for the historical black colleges because I work for a PWI,
And PWI, for those listening, are predominantly white institution. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And what and the thing that I've noticed that I gained that appreciation for is that at the HBCUs, the historical black colleges, that it's a family affair. It's a lot of love. The teachers care more about you than you really don't know. For instance, one thing that I've noticed, like the difference at an HBCU, there's an attendance policy. Then the attendance policy where I was in school was, you couldn't miss 2 or 3, 3 days or more, you start dropping letter grades off. So the thing was, if we could at least keep you in the classroom to at least educate you a little bit, you might come out of this thing with a C. I just need you to come to class. That's what the care was with HBCU.
Wow.
Here at the PWIs, there's no attendance policy. Long as you take your test, show up for finals, you're good. The teachers say, they don't care. Like these classrooms, I'm serious. I've never gone to a classroom where the attendance says, oh, it's 35 people in the classroom. 12 show up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. They're allowed to do so.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and what you can't do is, and I have a friend who's a black educator at the PWI, and he was talking about how he got backlash because some of the things that he taught in his classroom were not things that he put on the notes or the syllabus that went in the emails. So when test time came, the kids that didn't show up for class had no idea this would be on the test, and it ended up being a complaint where he ended up getting ridiculed. So, you know, I just take that, you know, it's just one of those things, like, it's a blessing. I tell people all the time, like, and don't get me wrong, PWIs are great at educating you and giving you opportunity. And matter of fact, they will give a lot of blacks opportunities more than you know, because what we don't know a lot of times is there's a clause that you have to have a certain percentage of blacks in these schools. So soon as they get a great educated black male, female with a decent grade point average, for grad school or whatnot, they like, bring them on in. Bring them on in. So I tell people all the time, you know, love and embrace your HBCU. And then I always say, take your pre-education, your undergrad. If you have the opportunity to go to an HBCU, do so. You learn a lot of values of being a black person. And if you do post-education, feel free to still go back to an HBCU. But also, I would advise you to experience some of the PWIs, because they will take you in a lot. And, you know, and then let's be honest, the world we work in, that looks great on your resume, you know, going where you are.
You know what's so crazy, man? Like, when you think about it, like, folks hear, you know, a comedian, or folks hear all, you know, I make people laugh, or I find the jokes, or I tell the story about something. But folks don't take a step back and look at the complexity of an individual. And that's one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, and kind of highlight the complexity of you, so to speak, versus just, you know, making folks laugh. Because for one, that's an art, right? Everybody can't tell a story in a way that people get it and can tell it from start to finish, have the punchlines, understand, you know, all of that. People don't understand it. There's an art to that. So there's a talent and there's a skill involved. But then there's a complexity behind who you are, right? Like the thing that you mentioned about understanding the HBCUs versus PWIs, right? Like, that's a conversation that a lot of people don't have. Right? A lot of people don't look at the value proposition. They just look at it simply from the facilities, and is this a major college so I can get more notice for this or that? They don't look at the complexity of the fact that you mentioned, like the attendance policy. And I can speak to it because I went to Georgia Tech, okay? So I went to a PWI. I remember going to Georgia Tech, and there was no attendance policy. It was like, look, if you can figure out what you need to figure out and show up for the exams, and you're good. They don't have to see your face. They could care less. Whereas, to your point, you gave the whole concept of this nurturing, this family thing, that I think a lot of people need to think about as their kids get older. A lot of brothers that are listening right now, you know, you have kids that are approaching college age, looking at those particular factors and factoring that in the decision-making process, because you want to set your kid up for the best chance for success. And I appreciate you bringing that perspective, and I also appreciate the fact that you're sharing that, because it allows people to hear and see you in a different light. And it's interesting, because when you look at major comedians now, you look at like the D.L. Hugleys and the Steve Harveys and the Ricky Smileys, and I mean, you just name them all. What's interesting, if you hear them talk in an interview setting outside of being on the stage, you hear the complexity and the intellect and the world experience and all these things kind of wrapped up, and you realize that these are some dynamic brothers that really bring a lot to the table. And I want people to see that about you as well. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, I tell people all the time, like, it's funny, man, because, like, the thing is, I also, after I finished my program, veterinary technology program, I end up doing, I was always a camera guy. I've always loved cameras. I've always wanted to do digital cinematography or be behind the camera. So I ended up enrolling to a film school. Started doing film school, got a lot of equipment, a lot of experience, worked with a lot of different artists or whatnot, doing videos or whatnot. And the major thing one thing that I saw in film school that I was like, man, that's got to be the most arrogant thing I've ever heard in my life. It was an interview with Spike Lee, which changed my mind, a couple months back. And Spike Lee, and people asking, they were like, Spike Lee, how did you get into filming? And if you know how Spike Lee's demeanor is, he's laid back, he's calm. His answer was, I didn't go into filming. filming found me. And I thought that was one of the most arrogant things ever to say. You know, it was one of those deals. He said his teacher gave him a video camera and sent him home for the summer. He just recorded stuff on the block in New York. And when he ended up cutting it and put it together, ended up being a great film, which led to the movie, the Spike Lee joint movies. And I realized, I was sitting there the other day, I was like, you know, that was not an arrogant thing to say. That was the truth. I didn't go out to be a comedian. Never happened. It found me. And what happened was, I've always asked myself, what can I do in life to change, you know, to make an influence on life where, you know, like, what is my God-given talent? What could I do? And I've always been a person that liked to laugh. I've always been a person that liked to meet new people. If it's dead in the room, I want to make it brighter. That's me. If you ask anybody I work with, anybody know me, like, I'm always for laughter. That's how my father is. So I end up, and long story short, and let me tell you how God works. One of my fraternity brothers wanted to do some projects or whatnot. And I know how he kind of works, right? He's not business savvy. He doesn't, like, step up to the plate and do a lot of things as he should, which I know he can do if taught. So I went out on a chance, and I put a lot of effort in doing this stuff for this young man and whatnot. And I tried to, try to get this thing off the ground while I was the videographer and had this little show going on for him and whatnot. And I just couldn't get him to show up to any kind of meetings or anything. And I just lost my spirit behind it. And I was like, man, just forget it. And it so happened, right? That happened on a Thursday. The Atlanta Greek picnic was that coming up Saturday, right? And it was funny because I got a lot of phone calls from frat brothers like, dude, are you coming to the Greek picnic? Are you coming to the Greek picnic? I'm like, dude, we are too old to be going to the Atlanta Greek picnic, man. Are you serious, man? And I just kept seeing all this stuff on Facebook, man, like, hey, man, Greek picnic, Atlanta, Greek picnic. And I'm like, man, I know some of y'all played 6 or 7 years, ago, and I'm at least 10, 11 in. I know that y'all, if I ain't going, y'all definitely should be going. So I made this funny video about things that would allow you to know that you too old for the Greek picnic, and I did it for the bros. I was like, if you got a line picture with a brick in it, you too old for the Greek picnic. Kappas, if you got a cane in your windshield, you too old for the Greek picnic. Alphas, if you ain't never blew no whistle in your life, you too old. Like, so I did these little renditions of, like, why you too old for the Greek picnic. Dude, I paid no attention to that video the day after. I got a call Monday and was like, dude, do you know your video is, like, going viral? I'm like, what video? They're like, dude, the Greek picnic video. So I went and looked back at it, dude. It had, like, 75,000 views in a couple days. And I was like, for me, that was viral because I'm looking to get 100 views off of just being, So I was like, wow. So then I realized my fan base, I had to go to a Greek type of fan base where I was like, well, I don't really want to do this Greek thing, a comedy deal, but people liked it, and people had got in my DM like, dude, that was so funny. You made my day. I'm like, man, days are being met. People are really taking this in. So I just kept transitioning to see what I could do. And I decided to take different Greek organizations and make different stories on it pertaining to, like, Greek stereotypes. And, and that's how the whole Skinni Go Live Greek deal started working out, man. It was, and it's been a blessing. I got to say it's been a blessing.
You know what's so funny about that? That particular story is where I found you, because we ended up sharing it around our chapter. We were like, I know y'all bros talking about going to the Greek picnic, and y'all got all kind of gray hair. You talking about your back hurt.
Back hurt.
And you going to the Greek picnic. Like, what's the doubt? Literally, man, and it's funny, that's where it all started.
Yes, that is where all and that was the thing as far as becoming big. Before then I would get online and I had most of my colleagues from work or the veterinary community. I would tell these funny, like, what I call pet tales. I would tell little stories about pets and silly stuff like that. And some people tuned in and whatnot, but it was definitely the Greek family, and I owe it a lot to all the Greek family, my fan base. And I think the biggest thing is, like, the Divine Nine is so large, and it has a multitude of different characteristics and characters within these different fraternities, all walks and ways of life. And from there, like, we don't understand. I think what my biggest thing I want us to understand is, like, we have a big influence we don't understand the power we have as a Divine Nine.
That's right.
We really don't. So I feel like my comedy sometimes creates that tension, but at the end of the day, I try to pull it all together and say, hey, man, we just doing this out of love and great camaraderie. And we can't do this. This is our bubble. This is something that we have. We should be able to have conflict or a nice camaraderie within it without anybody else on the outside, i.e. any other race of people or any influential culture saying we can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it came to head, man. I'm telling you, the most powerful thing that I saw, man. I know in the video did almost 1 million views, and I'm grateful for it. That Keisha Bottoms mayor, when the Deltas came together to vote this mayor in, because people don't understand, there's not the voting for your city elected. The turnout is never really big. We don't really turn out. When we have the biggest ethnicity group in a city, if we would just turn up and vote, we can control a lot. These Deltas, I'm serious, man, they show up in numbers at these polls for their fraternity, for their sorority system. They show
the mayor
up
of Atlanta, the new mayor of Atlanta you're speaking of.
The new mayor of Atlanta. They show up in numbers all over Atlanta, voting Keisha in. And there it was. I mean, I think it was so much of a shock that people called for a recount to the point that they realized, this is something we can't touch. They did it again in Alabama with Doug Williams.
That's right. That's the mayor of Birmingham, right?
Right. And the thing was, what was funny about that was like, they called, and I made a joke about it, but it was a serious deal. They asked this man to come to a meeting at like one of the African American Episcopal, one of the Episcopal churches, and he, it was one of them things like you don't expect the white guy to show up to this, and when he showed up, it showed a lot of his character. Once they showed this and the news people were there, everybody showed up to vote, to turn this red state of Alabama, like now it's a Democratic type, man. It was a blessing, man. So again, like we don't understand the power we have as Greeks, and that was my biggest thing. And I think a lot of love. The thing that I like the most is everyone's knows. Like you said, either you love me or you hate me, because I don't draw any lines when it talks about your organization, my own organization as well. And I get a lot of people get in my direct message, and they are all upset. And the first thing I always say is, hey, man, here's my phone number. Give me a call. Give me a call. And the best thing, I'm talking 9 out of 10 times after we make that phone call, whether it's another organization or my own, it's all love when we hang up that phone. It's, man, I understand what you're saying. Because I talk to them just like we're talking now. I'm not doing this to hate y'all. No. This is, you see, and then they're like, man, now that I hear it, I hear your sincerity in your voice. Because you don't hear the sincerity in it when I'm doing my comedy, because it's comedy. That's right. So when they hear it, it's like, okay, I get it, man. You just out here, kicking with us. And there it is, you know what I'm saying? So that's my biggest win. I love when they get upset and call me or get in the messages and we have a conversation and they come back and say, hey, man, that man's skinny. And I see them on future posts, and I see them going from the person that like hated me on the post, now they defending. Hey, man, it ain't that serious, man. That man just out here. So I love that. I see so many of them do it, and that's why I do it, Like once they can understand, like, this man just out here, it's just Greek comedy. This is our bubble. So allow ourselves to do this in our bubble. So that's been a blessing, man. That's been a blessing.
And what's interesting, too, though, is you open up the window for being able to laugh at yourself. Right? Because, and that's the thing that a lot of people miss the boat on, because we get so bent on trying to be serious that we don't realize laughter is the best medicine. And yes, if you really take time, and this is where I would encourage anybody who has an issue, like I'm gonna tell you the video you did on the IOTAs, like that one went crazy viral. But the problem was because I went through and looked at some of the comments on that, and a lot of people were defending, thinking that you were talking specifically about an individual. It's like, no, we're talking about, the activity or what he was doing. It's not about him. It has nothing to do with that. But a lot of people came to defense of him, thinking that you were singling him out and trying to shame him. And a lot of people thought that you were trying to shame the university, because when I looked at it, because he was from Jackson State, I believe. And so there was a lot of people in the timeline defending Jackson State and defending him. And then a lot of his fraternity fraternity brothers came on defending and this and that. It was not a discredit to him. It was not to shine a light on him. It was just laughing. And the thing is, I would say if folks were to look at your previous post, you had stuff about us. You had some of our bros sitting there hot on their face. You got every other
exactly.
You had every other fraternity and sorority, you know, getting jonesed on. Nobody, you know, it's no holds barred, right? But it's not about discrediting that individual and shaming that individual. It was like, hey, it's like America's Funniest Home Videos, right? You laugh at it. Now, granted, you're not paying them $100,000 to laugh at it, but you know, but it's like America's Funniest Home Videos.
Exactly, and that is exactly like that is the equivalent to what I tell people. Like it's just like AFV, like it's like America's Home Funniest Videos. Like you, and I think that's the thing that I realized I'm like, man, our people. I learned so much from coming to see how people react. And we are our own germs sometimes as people. We destroy ourselves.
That's right.
Because at no point when I made that video, first of all, I got that video at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I work a second shift. I got off at 12. I was up. I got the video at 1. I was like, oh, man. So as you can see, it was like I was already tired. My eyes were red. I'm back. So as I made that video, at no point did I think about this man individually. I just watched the people, like, they let me in on so much information that I didn't know. I was like, oh, you know, like he split his pants. I didn't even see he split his pants, you know. I didn't see that. I didn't know what class of people he represented. I didn't know what school. All I knew was he was an iota. That's all I knew, and that's all I was banking
And that was probably the only iota you've ever met in your life. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing iotas. I'm just playing. Don't come after me.
I ain't never. Nah, but no, they like I said, they are good people, man. It's good people, man. And it's just one of them things that's funny, man. That I tell people all the time, man. You gotta lighten the mood. And what I've also learned is, my dad always used to tell me, son, when you pray for the rain, you got to deal with the mud too.
That's right.
So I've always been a hot-headed type of person, but this has allowed me to be really humble. This has humbled me more than any humbling experience ever. You got to be able to have thick skin. People, everybody not gonna like you. Everybody not gonna like you. People gonna say stuff to try to get a response out of you. People gonna degrade you. You know, I've threads. Everything I've gotten it all, you know what I mean? But like I said, I walk by faith, man, and I do what I do for the love of people and for everybody. And as it goes over to being a dad, I tell people all the time, I'm a single dad. I had my son. When my son was born, I'm not gonna sit and say I was the perfect father or perfect man for the relationship, and me and his mother end up not working things out. But what the thing that we do now that I appreciate, we are great co-parents. We are great co-parents because one thing we have to remember as black fathers, especially as men of Omega Psi Phi or any Greek organization or any man in the world, we still have a job to do.
That's right.
We still got to raise that individual. It's not their fault that they're here. If me and my son and his mother, we may come to a disagreement, we don't argue in front of him. We don't yell and scream in front of him. We don't let him see our disagreements. Those are things we do behind closed doors. We make sure we don't create a toxic environment. And I was in a relationship one time with a young lady, and my son grew a liking to this young lady. And it became really toxic to his mother and our relationship. And I think the biggest thing was we got to understand how mothers feel about their kids, Like I can understand why she felt the way. My son coming home like, oh, Miss Blase did this, Miss Blase, and she couldn't stomach that. Not saying that she couldn't stomach that deal of her son, equating to another woman. And the thing was, that wasn't what made things go south. It was the fact that the other young lady didn't understand why I still had to teach my son values to his mother, i.e., when his mother's birthday came around, I bought him a card to give his mom because that's what you do as a son of your mother. You still have to teach manhood if you not at your, when Mother's Day came around, a card for him to sign to give to his mom. She looked at it more as you are buying a card for this ex-woman. You know what I'm saying? That's not the deal. I'm teaching my son the values of being a man at the end of the day still. So if you can't respect that, we can't be together because I'm going to do that for my son. So we have to, and that's what I tell a lot of, fathers, like, you can make your relationship, being a single father in this type of situation, you can make it worth the value. You just have to realize some women, most of them want you to just make sure you continue being a father to your child. Sometimes we take a step back, and you have to have that, sometimes it goes a little farther. Like, some things you can't do, being in a relationship with someone else and being having a child from another lady or mother or woman or whatnot, but you still have to raise your son to be a man to his mom. And if your lady don't respect that, trust me, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
Oh, man, bruhs and fellas and I know there's some ladies listening too. That was some wisdom there. Like, regardless of your situation, regardless of the relationship, you as a man, as a black man, this is called Black Fathers Now. And it's Black Fathers Now because right now, this is some information or this is some wisdom that you can impart into your life. You need to teach your child, whether it be your son or your daughter, to respect their mother, regardless of you all's relationship.
Right.
Now, granted, if you have the opportunity for your relationship to work and you can model a great relationship, awesome. It's good for them to see that. But if circumstances don't bring that to the table, it is still your responsibility as a father to make sure that they respect their mother.
100%.
Because at the end of to me, that's so valuable. And then when I think back to your story, because, kids don't always do what they're told, but they repeat what they see.
Exactly.
Or they model what they see. And one of the things that, you mentioned from early on was, your dad set a good example because he always wanted to make things brighter.
Right.
Like your comedy thing. But you also mentioned that, your music teacher helped you to see your worth.
Right.
Your music teacher back in the day helped you to see your worth. And by you seeing your worth, you then started pursuing things that you love. You pursued, a career dealing with animals, or you didn't pursue music, but music is a form of performance. And it's amazing how this thing comes full circle.
Right.
And now you're doing something. So you're following your calling in life. You're following the things that you truly love. But it all started from you also understanding your value.
You got to understand. You have to understand your value. You can't sell yourself short for anything. If you sell yourself short, you're not gonna make it in life. And you got to remember, you got to do things for the right reasons. You got to do stuff for the right reason. Your blessings only come for the right reason. I'm here. My dad would tell you right now, my son had more hustles that ain't did nothing than anything in the world. When the gift that he's always had was opening his mouth, and I've invested in a lot of things. Okay. But this is something that I've not put a whole lot of investment in that has done the best and the most for me because I invested in the right thing for the right reason. Being said, everything I've always tried to invest in, I got to make $1. I got to make $1. I got to make the next dollar. And these hustles never work out. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I'm doing it for the right reason, like my reason is not money. I don't do comedy for money. That is not my reason. My reason is to have these opportunities to link up with you, to have this opportunity to be on podcasts and share my story, or to have someone get in my DM every day and say, man, I was having a crappy day at work, but I was glad when 10 o'clock came around so I could see you do something stupid on Facebook and brighten up my day. I ain't got to worry about it. That's what you do it for. If you do things for the right reason, everything else will come, man. Everything else will come, man.
And we're gonna put something behind that right now. You said you invested a lot in other stuff, and honestly, that wasn't your calling. That didn't work out. Collectively, how many views have you gotten on the videos you put out there so far?
Wow, collectively, man.
How many millions?
Man, I'm probably got to be at least 11 to 12 million views strong right now. And the thing is, it's only been since June. Well, hey, I got to take that. Maybe 15, 16. You know what? I got to go look at my analysts on Facebook, man. That's a good question. Last time I looked at it, it was like 12 million, but that was like maybe 2 months ago. And that was since the Keisha video and since the video of the kid with the Halloween costume. And the IOTA. So, and like I said, so now most videos, even if it's a simple one, do anywhere from 3 to 4 views, even if it's just me on there talking randomly about something, you know. And
3 to 4,000.
Yeah, 3 to 4,000. And people ask all the time, they're like, man, Skinni, when you should transition over to YouTube to get the money. I say, see, that's the problem. I'm not in it for the money. Like, I'm like, if that comes, that comes. I'm not in it for the money. And the thing is, I'm more or less building my brand. I've gotten all kind of calls from Laugh Mob, different people saying, hey, man, you need to sign up for this, do this. And I've been fortunate enough to work with our fraternity brother and comedian of 25 years, Doug Williams, who is my actual comedy coach. And he's been an absolute blessing because everything he has told me has steered me in the right direction. You know, as far as the company deal. So that has been a great thing. And I appreciate him to the utmost. And one thing, going back to the father thing that I wanted to mention, as far as fathers and growing up, a lot of parents, I came from a situation where I did some things growing up, got me in trouble. Did some jail time. Indulged in some things that I shouldn't have done, got expelled from college, having to go back to college. It's been a lot. It's been a long road, and my parents were great parents. They instilled great qualities. I was a kid that went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. They taught me right from wrong. I still went out there and did the wrong things. I still went out there and indulged in things that I had no business doing. I was that kid that was out there doing stuff that kids who parents were maybe lower class or underprivileged, they were doing in order to make a living. I didn't have to do these things that they were doing, but I was just doing it because I knew how to do it. I hung around these kids, and it was the cool thing to do, or it was a status thing. And my mom stayed on me so much as a child, so much to the point that our relationship was toxic. Because I didn't understand until I was maybe 21, 22, 23 what she was saying. My dad was the leverhead one. He was the one that stayed calm and tried to explain it to me. Kept calm, always embraced me and said, son, this is what she's saying, blah, blah, blah. He was the one that taught me off the ledge when me and my mom got into these heated arguments. And one thing I would tell any parent that got a child that they just keep telling right from wrong and they just won't do right, have faith. Because once they get put on their back, all that stuff that they taught or you told them comes full circle. They will realize it. So don't give up and just say, hey, I'm done with him. Send him to the group home. Do this. Don't, I'm done with him. Send him to his grandmama's house, and just giving up on their child because they think their child is not going to get it. Keep giving it to them until they out your house. When they get laid on their back or when they have to be humble, all that stuff that you said, all the stuff that my mom said now, I'm like, man, thank you, Mom. Thank you for the opportunity that you told me. I might have been, because it's one thing to touch a stove and get burned one time. It's the second thing to get burned the second time. If you didn't learn the first time, like she told me, my mama told me the stove hot. I'm going to touch it in the hot just to make sure it's hot. Now, if you go touch that stove again after she told you and you found out it's hot, you got a problem. So when I touch that stove that second time and I feel like it's hot, now everything that mama told me the first time about it being hot and everything that come along with it, it makes sense now. So that's one thing I like to tell a lot of my friends who are like, man, my child is just, man, don't give up on your child, man. Don't give up on your child. Keep instilling those learning lessons. Keep instilling in them things that of value to them that, and I tell them all the time, and another thing people ask me, they're like, man, why go to school and get a degree? Why to go to school? One thing about them degrees, man, true enough, it really is about who you know in life. It is about who you know in life. And maybe a degree won't make you a millionaire. Maybe you'll have a degree and be broke all your life. But here's the thing about a degree as a black man in America, as a black person. It gives you the ability to have that conversation with someone that you can't have a conversation without it. Just because they don't have it, you got to have it. You didn't know what I'm saying? So whether
it opens the door.
It opens that door. It's opening the door that has been shut in your face for 400 plus years. You know what I'm saying? Like I've met, it's crazy, man. I've met so many people, man. One of the wildest things, I come from a city, man. I tell people like how much I come from a city, man, where I used to work in veterinary medicine, right? And or worked in veterinary medicine, and I worked at a veterinary office, and they had these places called plantations, right? And on these plantations, and I don't understand why they call them plantations, but a lot of people on plantations, they do a lot of hunting. And the reason these plantations came about, just like back in the days when you had slavery and plantation houses, right? You had these people, you had slave owners that that these slaves picked cotton or harvested the crops, right? So let's move forward 400 plus years. They've been replaced with tractors and this, that, and the third, right? Guess what? That land is still there. That land is still there. That land is still being farmed, but it's being modernized. Even though there are no more slaves, no more sharecropping in quarters. You know one thing that I realized? Those black families that still at work for them for me, they are still indebted to them and still work. And I didn't realize till one thing about it. So a lot of these plantations where I'm from the deep south, Albany, Georgia, they have these plantations, they do a lot of hunting. And when they do hunting, they have like field trial events. And field trial, when they have these dogs, they do a lot of competitions or whatnot. And I would notice when these dogs came in, guess who would bring them in? Black handlers. And I couldn't understand, and you're talking anywhere from 100 to 200 plantations in this region that got these dogs, okay? And we're talking about 20, 30 dogs on a plantation, okay? And these black, and I'm like, why do I always see these black handlers bringing them in, but owned by the white owners? Because these are still sons of sons of sons of sons.
Wow.
Working for these plantations still. But in a different capacity. You see what I'm saying? Even though they getting a paycheck, they maybe getting great benefits. They treat them like real, but it's the fact that mindset is still. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, wow. You know. Wow. So we have to break that chain, man. That's why I'm like, we as the Divine Nine, we got our own bubble, man. Like people don't understand HBCUs didn't come about because somebody just founded them. It was because we couldn't go to school nowhere else.
The necessity. It was out of necessity.
It was out of necessity. It wasn't something that just happened, you know? So I tell people all the time, like, man, you got to look, you got to look around you, man, and just, like, pay attention to what's going on. And that didn't make sense to me. And I can remember one of the doctors saying, listen, man, we can lose all our regular clients with cats and dogs and still stay in business with these plantations. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So we just got to realize, man, it's deep, man. And another quick story about, like, what we don't realize, I can remember, man, and I told somebody, I really want to write this story and do a movie about it. Like, in my same city, they had this tree called a live oak. Huge tree. 300 to 400, like, year-old tree. The same tree was used for hanging, or whatnot. But as years passed by, roads were built around it. Roads were built around it. Nobody really paid attention to the history of this tree until the limbs start hanging over the highway. Moss started growing over, making it a distraction. Came down that the city wanted to cut this tree down because it needed to be cut down. That's when we learned the history of this tree. Because so many people, that's our heritage. That's our heritage. Our family, hung black men on that tree? It came to a point they chained themselves to this tree, protested about cutting this tree down. And the protest worked to the city was like, well, look, we'll go back and think about it. It was for a 30-day, they went back. They was like, let's do a 30-day revision on whether we're going to cut this tree down. Within those 30 days, you saw what was in your city. People out there protesting day and night, camping under that tree. This is our heritage, chaining themselves to that tree. This was less than about 10 years ago now is what I'm talking about. So this is like recent activity. So we got to remember, man, our worth, man. And I think being Black Greeks, man, like, or the organization, like, it just allows us to see so much. And we got so many opportunities being a Divine Nine, helping each other, and like you say, uplifting as we climb. So we have to keep that in mind. Being black men in America, being fathers in America, man, like we just have to instill these things, man, one to another. And I think that's the biggest thing that I love about your motto and your shirt, man, that, is real brothers, real fathers, man, because it's so much into that, being real brothers, embracing and helping, teaching, being fathers on the aspect, because like we just have to continue to educate, man, and keep our people educated, because if we don't, man, we will be blinded by this world, and they are trying to blind us, man. Trying to blind us.
And to keep yourself from being blinded, fellas, you got to know your worth. You got to know your worth. And the thing is, it's imperative on you to know your worth but then teach your children their worth.
Right.
And this needs to be a generational change, because the examples that Skinny just gave about, our history with slavery and the history of blacks in America or those of African descent in America, that history was predicated on us not knowing our worth.
Exactly.
Our worth was blinded to us. And so now the benefit of education, the benefit of experience, the benefit of connecting and understanding and learning from other people's story helps you to then be able to look in the mirror and effectively understand your worth, so that you can then reflect that worth out into the world and make an impact and build on, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? We're standing on those that have come before us, and we have to understand our history so that we don't repeat it, we build on it. But the thing is, we then start to understand our value, because as bad as some of the things were in the history of, the struggle of people of African descent, guess what? We're still here.
We're here.
So that lets you know that there's something inside of us that was so much stronger, that was so much bigger, that's so much deeper than all the adversity that was faced. And so, and I'll say, man, and just hearing your story and hearing the complexity of what you bring to the table and the concept of knowing your worth and, looking at the experience with your family and, even like from back in the day, looking at growth. Like you said, you mentioned starting off in the projects and moving to home ownership.
It's growth.
You see that whole concept of growth. So I see the concept of knowing your worth, but then you also witnessed growth. And it's amazing when you look at your story, how this whole thing is, yes, you understood your worth back in the day, but then we see this growth. And we see going from making a funny video about a Greek picnic to, tens of millions of views.
Man, it's been a blessing.
It's a blessing. And the fact that, you understand that I'm not doing this for the money. The money is a byproduct. Now, granted, you keep doing what you're doing, the money will be a byproduct of what you're doing.
Dude, people don't understand, like, you control the money. You don't let the money control you.
There you go.
Like, and we fall so short, man. Like, I told somebody the other day, man, like, we spend so much time buying things or doing things to impress people that don't care nothing about you.
Nothing.
You can invest that money and time into something else. Your worth. That's what you can invest it in. So, it's a germ that we have, man, that we have. And one thing that I don't know if I've been blessed, and I tell people all the time, man, the Dave Ramsey series, man, if anybody get a chance, as he got a lot of financial peace, total money makeover books or whatnot, definitely, I'm here to tell you, man, there's a lot of people get rich schemes and financial stuff. People always, I've listened to it all, and I'm the biggest critic of them all. But this is what we need to be told as people that nobody will tell us. And I'm sure Dave probably get all kind of emails, messages about, why are you telling them this? Why are you doing this? Because this is the stuff that millionaires and the people, whites or other ethnicities have done for years. It's not about your wealth. We are 30-something years old. We ain't going to, it's too late to be a 10-time millionaire now. It can happen. It's about generational wealth.
There you go.
Put it up for your kids. Put it up, if you ain't got any generational wealth now, the biggest thing is setting forth something for your generation. Set your generation up.
And I'll tell you what's even interesting about that is, like, yes, I mean, we still got time. Like, let's not sell ourselves short. We still got time to build and grow and develop. But the other part of it is, even if it's not about necessarily creating a humongous pile of wealth, you could at least create generational wealth by not allowing the next generation to start off in the hole.
Exactly.
So understanding the concept of debt, understanding the concept of income, understanding savings and investment, living below your means, and paying stuff off, and not buying things that you don't need to buy.
You don't need to buy it.
Dude, we can talk about finance for a long time. I created some different financial, things I taught in the church a couple of years ago. And so to that point, like, this has been, and I've listened to Dave Ramsey for years, and so I've definitely been on that bandwagon in regards to paying stuff off, getting cash for cars, no debt outside of your mortgage, but ultimately getting to the point where your mortgage is paid off. I mean, all of those things, because I'll tell you, fellas, fathers, black fathers specifically, it's a buddy of mine. He has a movement on Instagram. It's called Fatherhood is Lit. And one of the things that he puts out there is a concept called presence over presents. So basically being present over giving presents. And so that whole concept to me kind of reigns true, and it flows into this whole concept of what's important. And when we think about finance, when we think about how we handle our money, we even mentioned earlier about how kids follow what they see, not always what they're told. So do they see how you're spending your money? Do they see mommy and daddy going in debt for X, Y, and Z? Do they see it being a financial struggle day in and day out? And I mean, do they see all these things? And these are things that, and it's interesting because once again, as we look at the growth, and we're talking specifically about you with Skinni Go Live and Walter Brown and the growth and development of that, as you build your platform and opportunities start being presented to you, with you setting the foundation of having this understanding of money and finance and debt and all these different things going forward, you're propelled, or you have the propensity to all the windfall that's going to come, because we're claiming it right now. The windfall that's going to come is going to be a blessing.
Yes.
And see, because the thing is, for a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there, you could write them $1 million check tomorrow.
Yep.
And they would be in the same situation that they're in now 2 years from now.
You're right.
Right?
You're
Whereas
right.
you have somebody else, if they have the right framework and the right foundation in place, $1 million to them is a blessing not only for them, but for generations to come, for people,
other people,
for organizations and people around you right now. You can be a blessing to all these other folks, but you got to have that foundation in place. And to me, once again, this highlights the complexity of Skinni Go Live. Like, people think this is just some funny dude from the country that's making... No, there is there are layers. When you start peeling these layers back, you start to see that this brother's deep. And I want y'all to hear that. I want y'all to see that. This brother is deep.
And that's what
he's bringing stuff to help.
And that's what we got to realize. Like, we can have 1,000 talents, man. The biggest thing, every millionaire got about 7 different hustles. They tell you that all the time. And like you said, living below your means. There's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta. My thing is, like, I can't let the world sell. Growing up, like I said, you heard about like this how I grew up with and seeing these things, man. And another thing that and I've heard these words, and I've been in situations where, people say, put it in a book, black man won't read it. That stuck with me. That stuck with me. So I always, like, man, anytime I can pick up something, and a situation that really changed me, I didn't get a chance to tell people. I can remember one day I was working at Outback Restaurant, and I was a dish pit worker and a bus boy. And we used to get these things called tip share. The waiters would tip you out for busting their tables at night. You might make anywhere from $25, $35, maybe $50 a night type of deal. And I was that kid. I had a flashy car with rims on it. It was a Chevrolet Caprice. It was every dope boy dream car. You know what I mean? it was just that car. Because again, you didn't know what you were. You just wanted them things. And my mom hated it. No, he don't. But my dad was like, hey, he's a man. I let him grow. Let him do what he gonna do, but not to the extent. I got my eye on it. I ain't gonna let him do everything, but let him experience some stuff. You know what I'm saying? And one night, I was at work. I got off late, about 12 o'clock, and I went to go deposit my money into the ATM. You can put your cash in the ATM. As I got out of the parking lot, right, a cop started following me. I made a bend the corner. Another cop came behind that cop. No lights on. They just creeping behind me. I turned another corner until I was like, well, I ain't worried about it, until I got to the ATM machine. As I got to the ATM machine, I realized 2 more cops had got about. It was 5 cops. 5 cops. I pulled up to the ATM machine like normal. Went in, as soon as I opened the door, they all surrounded the car. Cars, boom, 5 of them surrounded my. Put your hands up, whatever you got in here. I had a Snicker bar in my hand. Drop whatever in your hand. You make another move, it'll be the worst night of your life. Exact words. I'm like, what happened? What I do? You know what I'm saying? Oh, wait, the chief get here. We'll let you know. So funny, right? I'm sitting there for about 5 minutes. It's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. My LBs, 2 of my LBs happen to ride by. We about 15 minutes away from where we play. They happen to ride by because they leaving the club that night or something. They looking like, is that Skinny? I'm like, yeah. So they don't, they just sat on the side of the road to see, what happened. Another car pulls in. I guess that's Chief. Chief comes in. He's like, "Where are you coming from?" I'm like, "I'm just coming from, work to put my money. Can anybody vouch for you?" I'm like, "Well, one of your cops seen me pull out, but I guess my manager's still there." He called the manager. Manager's like, "Yeah, he literally just left like 5-10 minutes ago." He was like, "Okay, cool." They were like, he told the cops something. All of them started getting in their car. I'm like, "What was this about?" "Oh, we got your car as a description for an armed burglary. That happened 4 or 5 miles up the road."
Wow.
That my car must have matched the description. Mind you, my car was custom. Custom rims, custom paint, everything. Like, it's funny that another car will look just like this car. But okay, cool. So that just made me realize, like, man, like, this still goes on today, you know what I mean? So you can't, I try not to put myself in those situations. Even though I like nice, flashy cars or whatnot, I have one. I drive it every now and again, but I drive my old raggedy Honda Civic wherever I need to go because that's where that get me to point A to point B. I'm not out here trying to look flashy and trying to live like I got money or something like that because that only puts you in those type of situations that I could probably avoid. So you know what I mean? Like it's a gift and a curse. So you just have to ask yourself, what do you prefer? Me, I prefer my life. I could have easily been shot down, and y'all see how being that goes nowadays. So I mean, it's just one of those blessings, man. So I try to just stay humble, man. Humble is the biggest thing, man. Humble. And as being the bros, we got a taste of being humble, being the bros. So so humility is no. I have no problem with humility at all.
None whatsoever.
So, life is humbling, but I appreciate the bros taking a chance on me, man, and teaching me humility, and it really goes a lot further in life, man, than just being. People ask all the time, why do y'all join Greek organizations, whatnot? I don't know why they join their Greek organizations, but
I know about mine.
I know about mine.
Yeah.
And mine is a beautiful gift, and I must say, I can honestly say, without the men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, I probably would not be here today, not in this position at all. So, big shouts out to the bros.
That's it. I'm gonna tell you, so much that you learn and what you go through and the experiences help to prepare you for life. Like that's the whole. Yep. Obviously, we're not going into detail, but the thing is, that's the whole concept behind it all. It prepares you for life, and it sets you up for success, and it connects you with a group. Like you mentioned earlier about how the connection of the Divine Nine and the various organizations, it puts you in contact with some high-minded brothers who you all can help each other. Like, we're in the same fraternity. One of the things that, it made me want to connect and link up with you and vice versa, and it's one of those things where, dude, outside of anything, you got a friend in me, right? Like, I got you no matter what. I mean, so if you need something, dog, I'm a phone call away, and I look at you the same way. And so that's just how we operate, and that's the value of it all. And oh man, dude, we can talk. We can talk all day. I know. Yeah. So long story short, this is going to get released kind of mid-February.
Okay.
Is there anything going on that you have going on? Any place that you'd like folks to come check you out?
Man,
any website?
Coming February, man. Hopefully, March is when I'm really hitting the ground running. Right now, we're in the pre-production phase of things again. I'm my comedy coach, Doug Williams. Shout out Doug Williams. 25 years in the game. You've probably seen it with Nutty Professor, on Martin Lawrence, or in a lot of different other movies. He called it, we're moving at a snail speed, but we're microwaving it. So right. I'm following his lead. Right now we're getting merchandise as far as T-shirts. Will be available here in a couple weeks. So definitely check me out on Facebook for T-shirts. Definitely stay on my Facebook, join the Skinni Go Live, follow me there for updates. Right now, on February the 3rd, I am doing a comedy show / listening type of party with one of my classmates from back in elementary school, actually. Her name is Janet Elizabeth, has a nice EP. Please go to Apple Music and check that out. But we will be doing a show here at Cat's Cafe in Atlanta. on February at 8 p.m. So please come out and support. But starting in March, man, I'm going to be hitting the ground running, man. I'm the first take over Georgia. And after I take over Georgia, man, with some of the company, man, I'm going to definitely from state to state. And hopefully here in the summertime, I really wasn't going to actually do a Greek kind of stand-up set because I wanted to kind of like stay away from like doing, just kind of being that guy. So many, I just can't do it. Me and my company coach talked about it. I just can't not do it. He was like, he was like, Skinny, you gonna do it, ain't you? I'm like, I got to, Doug. So, what I'm saying? Cause I owe the Greeks that. So I want to put together a nice Greek comedy set. Hopefully that'll be coming in the summer. But right now, my predominantly set called, I Ain't Lying, which is like a 45-minute to an hour stand-up deal. I mean, it's hilarious, man. Like, I've never been the one to laugh at my own jokes or whatnot, but I must say, like, this routine, man, I have a hard time not laughing at some of the stuff because it's so family true. If you got that typical black family, man, those black friends, man, that you just like, man, my folks, man, I'm going to be talking about them, you know what I'm saying? Your homeboy with that raggedy car, your grandmother that still cuss you out and prays for you, your auntie that always want to borrow some money, all of that, man. If you got that family, man, please come out, man. The show I Ain't Lying, man, is a great show, man. I've done bits and pieces of it at Laughing Skull Lounges in different places. And one thing about my company coach, he says like boxing. I've done a lot of shows that I have not like put out there because he calls it sparring. You got to go out there and fail and see what works before you kind of tell your people to come out. So I've practiced this craft and I've practiced this show and done it a lot of times, and I've gotten great responses from it. I've changed a little things, added some things here, and now it's together. So it's time to give it to my people raw. So it's just one of those things, Mayweather, people don't understand Mayweather, even though Mayweather undefeated, Mayweather has definitely been knocked out in sparring matches, but you would never see that. You would never see that because, like, that's what a sparrer get paid to do, knock him out and he learned from it. So I've been knocked down a few times and learned the craft, and it's been a blessing, man. And like I said, shouts out to Doug Williams for showing me the actual format of comedy. And like you said, it's an art, man, and I love art. I indulge in it. I try to study it, watch different videos, watch how different comedians work, how the crowd works, what doesn't work here or there or whatnot. And it's just a blessing. So I'm here, man. Y'all definitely come check me out, man. February 3rd, if you want to see me at Cat's Cafe, I will be there. But starting in March, I will be taking over these cities, man, especially in Georgia. And hopefully by the summertime, man, I'll be doing these routines from state to state. I'll be going to a lot of districts. I've gotten invited to a lot of different, like, Greek organization deal, new student intake or whatnot. Just it's been a blessing, man. And like I tell people all the time, hold on, I'm coming. I'm coming. So
and the best way for people to follow you is go to the Facebook or
Facebook, man. Definitely go to Facebook right now. The website will probably be linked to the Facebook. And people, like I said, people are always like, man, get on Instagram. I am on Instagram at Skinni Go Live. I'm on Snapchat at Skinni Go Live. I'm on Facebook at Skinni Go Live. I'm on YouTube at Skinni Go Live. I'm everywhere at Skinni Go Live on most of the major platforms. My platform that I owe it all to is Facebook, so I stay loyal to those who show me love, and Facebook is definitely, showed me love. That's where my audience come from. And again, I'm not that young generation of cats. These young generations, they be on Snapchat. I don't know how to work all that stuff, man. I'm old school. I'm 35 years old, so most of my Greek and comedy is if you 25 to 65, man, you gonna love it. You gonna love it because you can relate. You know what I'm saying? These younger cats, 18, people ask me all the time, crowd 18 to 25. I'm like, man, I don't listen to Lil Yachty. I don't listen to that stuff. I don't know nothing about what these kids going on. The drugs they do. I'll tell you one thing. This generation here, they done went from the generation of, we were the generation that sold all the drugs. These young children taking all the damn drugs. I don't understand, man. I don't understand. So I can't relate to them. So, but yeah, man, it's been a blessing, man. But definitely, for the listeners out there, man, come follow me, man. Skinni Go Live, man. It's been an absolute blessing. And I appreciate you, Mike, as usual, man. I appreciate you. Definitely, people have been asking about those shirts, man. I hope the sales have been coming through, man, because people are definitely showing love. And the material and quality of them shirts, man. I think, I was like, this ain't one of them shirts that inks. I wear this shirt all the time. I might have to go get me about 2-3 more. I don't wore that one out, Mike. I don't wore it out, man. But I love it, man. The concept is great, man. And people ask about it all the time. And when they ask about it, it just open up a gateway to actually talk about some things. And I definitely want to shoot some people your way that I know are doing like organizations. I got a guy that does Bernard Hodge is one of our frat brothers who also has a book out. He does Our Kids, not Our Kids, Our Future. He does It Takes a Village. He would be great for your show. Also, Rodriguez Thomas, who does Our Kids, Our Future. I work with him a lot. Great motivational speaker, and probably, he's just definitely passionate about the kids and whatnot. So, I would definitely shoot that information to you, man, and definitely get them on there, man. This is what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad we had this chance to talk so we can link these people up and, build our community, man, and stay grounded, man. So I definitely appreciate the time, man.
I appreciate you, my brother, man, and I encourage everybody to take a look at Skinni Go Live if you don't already follow him. I'll have all his information in the show notes so y'all can click on there, follow him, and make sure you just check him out, check in with him, but also let him know that you heard about him on Black Fathers Now.
Yes,
and,
please do.
And just connect with him and just, show him some support, show him some love, because as he said, this brother's got tens of millions of views already, and that's just the start. Y'all just watch. You just watch. This thing is about to take off, and, you're getting to know who he is, and by knowing who he is, there's no doubt that you should not there's no doubt that you should not support this brother going forward, because he's coming from a good place. He wants to make you laugh, but ultimately he wants to help, and it's all coming from the right place, and
yes.
We have to make sure folks like this win in life. So, fellas, take heed to the information, the wisdom on fatherhood. Apply it to your life. The shirts that he just mentioned, this episode is brought to you by blackfamilyapparel.com. So, y'all visit blackfamilyapparel.com. Grab some apparel that celebrates all the nuances of the black family.
Yes.
And the real bruh, real father shirts, the real sorrow, real mother shirts.
Man, shirts are nice, y'all. They're nice, simple shirts. I hate shirts with a lot of stuff on them. These shirts are A1, man. I love them, dude. I love them. Nice. I commend you, man.
I appreciate it, man. So fellas, y'all visit blackfamilyapparel.com and grab something for your family. And as always, y'all visit blackfathersnow.com. Subscribe to the podcast. You can hear those on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Any way you listen to podcasts, dig it, man. Subscribe, share it out. Make sure to show Skinny some love. And fellas, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.